What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Moving with Life. This is episode 125. Yeah, 125. Hopefully you've had a good week so far. And for this week, I'm going to continue on today's, not the title of today's episode, but I for the last podcast, I had used Live Your Impossible. It's a page on Instagram that I found, and it's where I originally found them through that 7 tips on controlling your ego, which is what we did on Monday. And so I now follow this page, and there's one that they posted. This was back in March 21st is when they posted this current one that we're going to do today. And the person who wrote it, it's titled 8 Things Every Overthinker Needs to Know ASAP, and written by Steven Bartlett. And it says @Steven, so I'm guessing you can find him @Steven on Instagram. So I had to do a little bit of research so I can really see, I didn't know who this person was, and I also didn't want to because it's not my, these aren't my thoughts on paper necessarily. We're gonna go through them, and then we'll discuss them a bit. So he is currently 28. He's from Botswana. Hopefully I'm spelling that right. He currently has a book titled Happy Sexy Millionaire: Unexpected Truths About Fulfillment, Love, and Success. I watched a brief little video, and it seemed like it was a good summary, and that little video had to do with questions that he gets asked by his family, and questions that seem simple, but they're not always easy because you can kind of dissect them. And so anyway, so I just wanted to give a little background on who Steven Bartlett, because because it wasn't written by the actual page Live Your Impossible. It was written by that Steven Bartlett. So I was like, okay, let's give him some credit. Found it on Live Your Impossible, and then we can now jump into the 8 things every overthinker. So the reason why I chose this one next, as far as from the page, I said because they have several, and I was like, okay, yeah, because they mentioned Marcus Aurelius some more, and they go in more depth on some Stoicism, and but when I read this one, I was like, this one's just as relevant for me, especially because the past few days I've been thinking a lot, and it's not a bad thing, because I was thinking I think, and then I'll write down my thoughts sometimes, or I'll type them out, or I'll put them down some type of medium, right? But I've been doing a lot more than I'll say my normal, aside from reading. I started Jordan B. Peterson, his newest book, but even then, I've been, because I'm getting to a point where there's a lot of things that I want to do, and I'm trying to figure out. I guess now I'm in a planning phase now. Before I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Period. And now that I'm kind of I've been able to kind of narrow down some things, not everything, and not everything's set in stone, obviously, because I'm still in a thinking / planning period. But even with that, I've been dedicating a lot of time to try to do less social media, and just being on my phone. So less social media, but also allowing myself just time to sit and think. So I'm not having, so no YouTube on, no music on, just literally sitting, and it's not meditating, because I don't have my eyes closed. I'm not trying to get into a certain mindset or a certain state of mind. So that's where I'm at, and this one I felt very relevant, because there's also things that I've done in my past where it's I think I fall into the overthinker category, whether it's my personal life or career and work that I've done so far as well. And so let's just jump into the 8 things. Number 1, the problem is rarely the problem. 99% of the harm is caused in your head by you and your thoughts. 1% of the harm is caused by reality, what actually happens and the outcome. Most of the time, the problem isn't the problem. The way you think about the problem is. That one's pretty straightforward. I think I didn't want to use the phrase straightforward, but I don't know if I have anything to add other than if you're an overthinker and sometimes you get to, and the problem could be in your personal life, like meaning like your significant other or not, family issues where you think someone said something and you start creating the story and then ends up being not true because you actually you're creating the story in your head, or work. You're in work and I really work on staying away from. At work I really work on staying away from the gossip because it's like it takes too much energy. It literally takes too much energy. But anyways, if you fall into that little in that, how would I say the depth of the I was gonna say like a visually picture canal, but you fall into that hole. Again, you create your own story, you create your own opinion, and now you're creating a. And then that, it sounds like, even for me right now, it sounds like you're creating a problem that's doesn't even exist. So the problem itself is rarely the problem. And when you have when it comes to work, I'll have to say if you have goals or tasks and jobs to do within your scope, then you should just focus on that. Don't create more problems. And if there's a problem, an actual tangible problem that you can see is like, hey, then ask for help. Number 2, avoid self-rejection. This is one of my favorites. Don't think you deserve that opportunity. Apply for it anyways. Don't think your article was good enough. Publish it anyways. Don't think they'll reply to your email. Send it anyways. Never overthink yourself into self-rejection. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've definitely fallen into this where it's like I've written a passage and then I just erase it. Now I try to do less of that, at least. Sometimes maybe let's say like on my the blog I have tried to start up again. There had been times in the past where I would write and it was something, and then I'd reread it and I dislike it. I say dislike, not hate. I dislike it a lot, and I just trash it and exit out. I would just close it up. I try to do that less now. I at least leave it in my drafts now because I'm like, oh, maybe I can use it later. Maybe the idea will be better played out and thought out, and I can not rewrite it, but just edit the whatever I've written better. So yeah, self-rejection. I think that's a good one too, because that you can keep yourself from doing a lot of things by by overthinking. That's really it's all we're talking. It's like, don't think you're good. Don't think you deserve that opportunity. That comes with that self-confidence, self-esteem as well. That then leads to that self-rejection. Where it's like, who am I? Who am I? Like, who am I for them to? Who am I to think that they would choose me for whatever the opportunity is? And the opportunity is obviously like literally anything. These are very open-ended in some sense, but then you can, under opportunity, you can just put your own little bracket there, and whatever that opportunity is for you, you can insert it there, and then apply for it anyways. And here it seems like kind of apply for it anyways. Like, well, sometimes that opportunity is not an application. It's not a job application. Sometimes it's just building a relationship. It's like, well, ask them that question, engage anyways, call them anyways, go out for coffee anyways, whatever it may be. Because then that one, like, the go out for coffee is like, sometimes you have a business partner where it's like, hey, I have this idea, and sometimes before you even engage into that idea, you tell yourself, oh, never mind, I just won't bring it up. And then later on, for whatever reason, let's say you bring up that idea, whatever that idea was, and that now your business partner's like, why didn't you tell me that before? It's a great idea. We could have run with that for however long a time. But avoid self-rejection. It's a good one. I think it's hold on 1 second. It's definitely one of my favorites. Just because there's so many ways to take yourself out of the game, take yourself out of any open opportunity. Silence and time. The truth is, most problems aren't solved with more thinking, they're solved with less. You'll find most of the answers you're looking for in silence, in time, and with a clear mind. You'll find most of the answers you're looking for in silence, in time, and with a clear mind. If you can't solve a problem, stop trying to. I don't know if I would stop trying to. Depends on how big the problem is. Depends how bad you want it. What I will add is ask for help. If that silence and time is what I've been talking about. Like there's been a few hours, not moments. There have been a few hours lately, over the past few days where I just sit and I'm there and I'm thinking, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. And I've been getting out my journals. I've been getting out my journals to kind of just write down the important things and let the other thoughts kind of fly away. But it says if you can't solve a problem, stop trying to. And if it's giving you anxiety, then yeah, you should probably go work out. You should probably go for a walk. You should probably just get out of the room for a little while. But if it's literal, if you can't, if this statement is literal, it says if you can't solve a problem, stop trying to. Maybe you want to ask for help. Maybe you need to detach. Maybe you need to ask for help. Detach yourself. Look from it from a bigger picture. Like, what's the end goal to this problem? Like, this problem is in my way. I'm trying to get to point C. Is there another way I can go about solving this problem so I can get to point C? So that was a nifty one. Now that I've kind of talked it out, it kind of makes more sense. But that goes to, even here is over. I'm not saying I'm overthinking now, but I am trying to think about, hey, well, if it means this, then there's possibility A. It means this, and there's possibility B, and then possibility C. But silence and time is good because people I've heard. I said this because we are the people. It's us. We are the people. We are society. It was like, I'd say I'm going for a walk, but then they're on their phone the whole time. Like they're walking and they're on their phone. It's like you're not really resting your mind, and so you still stay as tired as you were. And I'm just as guilty. I'm just as guilty of doing all this. Sometimes it's like, but over the past few days, I will say is that there's been some moments where it's like I actually don't even want to be on my phone. I have to just sit because I'm just mentally I'm trying to get somewhere, and it's like my phone's actually not going to help me right now. And it's been very kind of prevalent lately. Next one, an important question. When you start criticizing yourself for past mistakes or seeing disaster around every corner, ask yourself, is there anything I can do right now to change the past or to positively influence the future? If the answer is yes, do it. Take action. If the answer is no, be at peace, let it go. You have to take action or let it go. Everything else is self-harm. I haven't thought more into depth about this one, but I do like it. Because it's the same thing as detachment. It's the same thing of like putting your emotions aside to decide, hey, how important is this in my life right now? And then going back to if was it last time or a few days ago, a couple episodes ago, where it's like, will this matter in 5 minutes? Will it? I think it's the last episode with the ego. When you start getting emotional and your ego starts taking over, it's like, oh, I want to win. But in this case, is there anything I can do right now to change my past or positively influence the future? Is this going to matter is this going to matter tomorrow? Maybe not 5 minutes from now, because you're kind of, maybe you're upset, maybe you're amplified, maybe there's the opposite. Maybe you're like fired up and you're like kind of go, and then you burn out. Right? There's that too, that possibility. But those are some of the things that you can ask yourself. Like, okay, I'm emotional right now. How should I be? And or let me give myself right now the time to be emotional, and then put that aside, so that then you can go and make a better decision. Is this going to matter in 5 minutes? The power of now. You're not going to overthink your way to a better future. You're not going to overthink your way to a better past. All you have is now. And what you do with now can make right of your past and make good of your future. Make peace with yesterday, let go of tomorrow, grab hold of now. This one I like. It's very cliche. It's one of the better cliches. Like, oh, live in the moment. But are we really living in the moment? If we're being honest with ourselves, and you ask yourself right now, like the way I try to ask myself more often than not, I'm like, I don't do it even every day, or even every day. But when you sit down and think about it, when we have those cliches and we get motivated for a minute, last 60 seconds, oh, live in the moment, and then you're there, and then you're back to being pissed off about whatever's in your way. There's a tug and pull there. All you have is now. Yeah, that's true. Because even from a few thoughts ago to now, that this is what's going on. I think it's just a good reminder to not forget. Maybe we don't always live in the moment of every second, but if we live in every moment of every event of our day, then our days, our weeks, our months, our years. Because then we can go back to like, oh, I remember back when this happened. That was so good. I haven't felt like that in so long. I haven't felt like it's been a year. It's been 2 years since I felt that happy. I remember that being in that situation, being that happy. It's like, well, you don't want, don't. I don't know if you. I don't. Okay, I guess I wouldn't suggest, or I don't know if you want to have not had a good event in your life, even if it's a small win. 2 years ago. And right now, I think it's a good example right now of the current state we're in right now because of COVID and the pandemic of what 2020 ended up being. It seems like, it happened. A lot of it sucked, yes, but then we started learning, started evolving and adapting to it. And now here we are in 2021. April at that April, we're already in April. Like, it's crazy how fast time is going by, and because of that, it's like silence and time balanced with the power of now. We can even if you want to stop here and shut it down and detach yourself from media and whatnot, and you think about, hey, things are pretty good, or hey, let me just embrace the fact that we're in 2021. It's April already. And by the time you see this, it's going to be April 8th or whatever. Yeah, I think it's like the 8th. And then 7 days from, so then next week, it's going to be halfway through April. And then by the time April's going to be over. I don't even think about, a lot of these calendar, I don't think of, I guess I don't use the calendar for the sake of blocks of time. It's just like, okay, I know that I use a calendar more for planning things, and then when I get close to them, I can start getting ready for my execution of that plan. Like for example, like spring break, back when you were in school, even in college, it's like, oh, spring break, we're gonna. It gave you a sense of. It gave you at least for me, it gave me a sense of where I am in time. And now it's like, okay, calendar's a tool, but I'm not too worried about how much time I have left, or I'm not too worried about what holiday's coming up, because no, what am I doing now, and is it helping me get towards the actual goals that matter to me? It's taken me a while to kind of start dissecting those goals, but as these past 3-4 months, since the new year, I've been really trying to dive into what am I aiming at, and how do I get there? Because my goals have changed, they change, but then there's some bigger things that's like, oh, I know I want that, period, and so I'm trying to dial that in. So yeah, power of now. Balance of by the time you know what the year's gonna be, by the time you know it, the year is gonna be over. It's like, whoa, let's slow down. Or like a good, I guess one of my favorite examples I just thought of right now that I forgot about is like when Walmart's like 5 months ahead of what the next holiday is. You know, freaking Thanksgiving comes around, they have Christmas stuff up already. As soon as Christmas is done, then it's Valentine's Day, and see those how like those just get you so far ahead of right now. They're like, it's like they're getting in your head about planning for, what's coming up, versus like, hey, let me enjoy my freaking turkey for Thanksgiving. Okay, I don't want to see or hear Christmas music. I don't mind it, and it is what it is. I hate using that phrase, but that, it's the reality of it. But let me enjoy my turkey, because even then, I worked this past Thanksgiving. It's fine. It's not the point isn't the work. The point is the premise of like, let me enjoy Thanksgiving. Let me have my moments. Let me enjoy my freaking turkey. And then you get to Christmas. Let me enjoy let me find a place that has good tamales, especially where I'm at. It's like, those are hard to come by nowadays for me. Next one. Fact check your own thoughts. Your thoughts will create scenarios in your mind that reflect your insecurities, fears, and worries. So it's important to always fact check your own thoughts before accepting them, because in highly emotional situations, your thoughts will tell you stories that aren't true. Fact check yourself. It goes this. And this is, I think this is just another bullet in, if you're an overthinker and you start creating your own stories because you see this, I honestly don't even have a good example. I wish I did. And it's not that I didn't read these before I got on here, but I feel like this is just one of those things where it's like, hey, and they got it right in the second paragraph. So it's important to always fact check your own thoughts before accepting them, because in highly emotional situations, your thoughts will tell you stories. That's the most important part. So you'll start creating this dialogue in your head because you're already talking to yourself. And because in highly emotional situations, your thoughts will tell you stories that aren't true. So you start creating this dialogue. You start creating, I saw him put my resume to the right, not the left. I saw a stack of what you thought was a stack of resumes on his right, your left side of the desk, and he put you on this side, and lo and behold, it's actually just a file of just papers, and all the resumes are on the left, and now you've created like, oh man, I didn't get it, so now you start applying for the jobs, and that's a rabbit hole. I mean, that's a generic rabbit hole as I can think of it off the top of my head right now, where it's like you can create a story and now you think you don't have a job. 2 weeks later, you're actually working at a new job, and now you got this call. Hey, I have a resume here. It was great. I'd like you to come in for an interview. And now you're like, oh, I thought that you didn't want. I thought that my resume wasn't good enough, or I thought that you put me in the bad pile. So yeah, let's try to do it less, because as an overthinker, you're already thinking like, oh, I need to do this. You can go down the rabbit hole of just what we're talking about right now, because it's not hard for an overthinker. I will argue that it's not hard to create those stories. So you have to at least create both sides, or two different stories to say, hey, if it's this, then okay. If it's this, it's okay. And then detach your emotions to actually be rational about what's going on in front of you, what's happening in front of you. Next one, acceptance is peace. No amount of anxiety will change your future. No amount of regret will change your past. Peace is found in acceptance. Accept imperfection, accept uncertainty, accept the uncontrollable. You don't have to understand, tolerate, or even forget something, but if you want peace, you must accept it. That's a good closing statement to the whole thing. Because for me, acceptance of imperfection, uncertainty, and the uncontrollable, to me, that's under one thing, because you accept you accept the imperfection, but then maybe you want to get better, so then you work on that. So then you're like, okay, I know I'm not the best at math, but let me figure this problem out. Let me get better at this type of math problem. I like using math because I was math was pushed on me, and now I'm grateful. And but that's a simple example of like, oh man. And I always use like 1+1 = 2, where it's like, oh man, like 1 + 1 = 2, but I want to know what 2 times 2 is, and my multiplication abilities is not the best. Well, okay, cool. You realize that, hey, I'm not the best at this, but I want to get better. So then you practice, and this goes for anything. I use guitar because I play guitar, but with guitar writing, reading, because you just need to find the genre that works for you. That's my opinion. Not liking your job, so learning a new skill to then be able to get hired for a new job, and then still learning and building on that, whatever that new craft is. You don't have to understand, tolerate, or even forget something, but if you want peace, you must accept it. So yeah, you accept it, be like, okay, hey, this happened to me. Did I like it? No, I didn't like it. It made me upset. It made me angry. It made me sad. Okay. Do I want to improve from this? Do I want to make better decisions next time? I'll have to argue that the answer is going to be yes to that question. So then, okay. So then that's where you detach yourself. You say, okay, cool. I wasn't the best leader here. I was more of a tyrant. Damn. Okay. Let me try not to do that again. And then you're there in the middle of something, and you stop, and then if you can catch yourself, like, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to be so hard in this part. I want what's best for you. That's why I get so fired up. There's a couple of brief examples of, where you accept what it is, and say, you know what, let me try better next time. Hey, give me another chance. I want to do better. I'm trying to do better. Help me do better. How can I do better? And the last one, health starts in your mind. You can go to the gym, eat healthy, do yoga, drink water, and take vitamins. But if you don't directly confront the negativity in your thoughts, you will never truly be healthy. Our health isn't measured on scales, by the size of our muscles, or by the width of our waist. True health is measured by the quality of our thoughts and the peacefulness of our mind. Health starts in your mind. Health starts in your mind. It's one way to look at it, because you can convince yourself very quickly to not go to the gym. You can convince yourself very quickly to just have one more fry. We'll use a fry. I was gonna say burger or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter, because I'm thinking about diet in this situation, but also you can think about quality of thoughts and peacefulness. Like, man, I really want to work for this new company that I just found. They do electric vehicles. It's an EV company, but I don't think I'm good enough. Or I'm not good enough, because I don't know. You create your own list of why you're not good enough. If the argument then becomes, if you're going to create a list of why you're not good enough, make yourself make a list about why you are good enough. And maybe the list of why you are good enough is shorter than the list of why you're not good enough, but maybe there's stronger things. Maybe there's stronger characteristics. Maybe you can... No, maybe like those being stronger characters, better strengths will then give you that edge for the application. I'm trying to give a job scenario, not just a diet scenario, because diet scenario is mine. That's my current thing. Because I like my job. I'm very lucky. I have awesome people around me, and then trying to continue this podcast. I like what I'm doing. I'm trying. I'm formulating ideas. I'm thinking about the future of what is moving with life, and you know, again, I think my biggest thing is like the dichotomy. When we're talking about, like, I haven't said dichotomy in a while, but I can bring it up here, because if you're going to create why you shouldn't do something, you should probably create why you should do it. Because then, you're going to be 10 years down the road. It's like, man, I wish I would have at least I would have tried it, because here we are 10 years later, and maybe I wouldn't have liked it. Maybe I would have left after a year or two. Maybe I would have left after 6 months, but at least I gave it a shot. At least I tried, and at least I put some effort at the time. And now here I am 10 years later, wishing I would have done it. I have to make a statement of saying, don't do that to yourself. And the cliche of like, oh, you don't deserve it. You actually don't. Maybe you don't realize it now. Maybe you need to listen to a few more podcast episodes from other people as well to help you realize, or some motivation on YouTube, whatever it may be. But don't do that for yourself. If you're gonna jot down all those negative things and overthink about why you can't do something, you make sure that you overthink these things. And because I bet you, my experience, whenever I've come up with, like, so this list of negative whatever it may be, it's always harder. It's definitely 100% for me harder to create a list of positive or good things. And so then I have to dig really deep, and it takes me a lot longer to create the same amount of ticks, the same amount of not ticks, but bullet points, as the why I shouldn'ts to why I shoulds. Sometimes, as of late, maybe in the last year or so, especially, getting a lot of perspective given, what happened in 2020, and, working in healthcare now, it does help helps me get humbled, be humble, try to be humble, try to live better. So that then, you know what, I should do it because of this, and you have your bullet points, and you're good to go. Oh, that was a good episode. This week was good. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding these, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can talk about this, and I can give just a little more insight on my brain and the way it works. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten something out of it. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's some merch available in the show notes. I missed like 2 days from last week's blog, but I'm posting. I'm trying to get my thoughts continuing. I'm trying to continue my thoughts as far as blogging. I at least did 3 last week. I think I did 3, so that was good. And then this week, we'll see what I'm able to distribute, mentally and go about that. But don't forget to take care of yourself mentally and physically. Take care of your teams. Lead from the front. Take care of your household. Give yourself that needed silence and time to then go and execute whatever it is that you want to gain and accomplish. Hopefully, in the future, you can look back like, good. I'm glad I did this thing. I'm glad I tried it. I did it for a month and I didn't like it, but at least I know. And there's no ands, ifs, or buts of like, oh, I wonder how I would have been if that would have happened. So yeah, I'm out. And until next time, we'll see y'all very, very soon.